Big kid energy, baby. I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to FredTalk, the place where we have, we talk to people. We have real world conversations with real people in the midst of the come up, baby. All right? Welcome, Fred heads and or Freddy Knights. What is a Freddy Knight? It's a play on words on Jedi Knight, people. Because at the end of the day, there's some dark forces out here trying to come after us, some hating ass motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? And we gotta fight against that. How do we do that? Just doing our best, man. Being nice to people, growing, learning, laughing. You feel me? Today I have an awesome person. I love the way she thinks. Gosh, I came across this person on one of the many social media platforms that I'm on, and her opinions, they make me laugh. I've hit tables before, like slapping. Oh my God, like her opinions are just original, and I fucking love them so much. I have IJ on today. She wants to be kept, anonymous. That's all I'm gonna give you is IJ. She's an entrepreneur. And she's of Nigerian descent, and she shares her perspective here. My goal for this episode was to have her come on to talk about. She has on one of the platforms I follow her on. She has scams. She calls the certain things that she calls scams. So for one of them is marriage, and that was my thing. I was like, I wanted to have her on to talk about why marriage is a scam, because I think I love that perspective, and I want to just talk about it because I don't think that gets talked about, And I'm like, all right, well, we'll get to know you a little bit, and then we'll move into that. Well, it ended up being a whole conversation about race, and in the sense of like race in the U.S. and how it's harder for someone the darker skin you have. And that's just, guys, it's just something that is. I know some people are like, oh, no, we all have that. No. Even when she tells me it's harder for darker skinned black people than lighter skinned black people, is that the limbic system wants to take over and be like, oh, no, it's not, because I don't know. I think there's something inside of us that doesn't want to feel like people have it harder than us, because then we feel like we're not. I don't know what it is, but it's just something that is. And this is an enlightening conversation. And we just talk about her experience and her perspective on the whole thing, being of Nigerian descent, the cultural distinction between, Nigerian Americans or Africans and Black Americans, self-hatred within the Black community, how people treat her differently when they find out that she is the owner of her business versus when they think she's just an employee. This is just real world stuff, guys. I've been told a lot by many people that, and especially white people, that when I talk about race, it doesn't make them as uncomfortable. So I think that's something that I need to use and just have honest conversations like this. This isn't a pity party. This isn't a fucking, blah, blah, blah bullshit. It's just a real conversation. So take it or leave it as you want. I'm going to go ahead and say this is one of my favorite conversations on Fred Talk, because IJ did something that I love, and she asked me a bunch of questions. So we also get into my, growing up where I grew up in the hood and now being where I'm at now. There's that disconnect a little bit sometimes for me on when I act, and I get a little insecure about when I act one way versus another. It's just who I am, and it comes from a place of feeling, And I talk about this on one of my Dolo casts. It's called Insecure Accents. It's like episode 30 something. But she asked me questions, and I had to dig deep and really think. So this is a great conversation. And the great thing about podcasting is you could be listening to this alone. It doesn't have to be weird. You just take the information in and reach out to me if you have any questions on it. This is one of my favorite talks. I'm actually going to have IJ on again fairly soon to get into the marriage scam thing, because I think that'd be a fun conversation as well. Guys, remember to subscribe to Fred Talk anywhere you find your podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, and then also subscribe to the YouTube channel, Freddy Valoy. It's silly shit. We want to get better, whether through conversations like this to expand our perspective, and we also want to have a good time while doing it. It's all this stuff is a good intention. So I would love for you guys to reach out, especially if you're a white person that just wants to know more. Don't be uncomfortable. Ask me questions. This is how we learn about each other, about our different cultures. I fucking love talks like this. This is like, it's crazy too. And then we also exposed too how naive I was to this whole topic up until recently. It's just a great fucking talk, guys. I love you. Stay safe out there. Be nice to people, you know? Find your strength and put that out there. Just be nice to people, all right? Guys, without any further ado, here is IJ.
Welcome to FredTalk, where if you're not learning, hopefully you're laughing.
All right, so IJ, what's it like growing up Nigerian in America?
Well, growing up Nigerian in America is interesting because I have two Nigerian parents, and it's like when they came to the US, they didn't stop being Nigerian. So since they didn't stop being Nigerian, like most people growing up thought we were weirdos because we were doing like, this is a good example. Okay, so during snack time in school, like everyone's bringing like normal snacks, like, you know, cheese and crackers and like, you know, stuff like that. My parents are giving us like sardines and boiled eggs. And like, those are the things that like make people look at us like we're weirdos because, you know, to us, that's a delicious snack. But then to an American, they're like, what are you eating? You know, and that's how it's been the whole time that we've been here. We were raised a certain way and like, we think it's normal, but everyone's looking at us like we're aliens. And that's like, that's just how everything's been. And so Nigerians look at us like we're not Nigerian enough. And then Americans look at us like we're like Americans don't look at us as Americans either. So it's kind of like we're like in the middle of some just weirdness is for us and just how we're viewed by everyone.
So even like Black Americans would think that was weird. Like, what the hell? Like,
yeah, Black Americans to me have a lot of self-hatred issues going on. So anything that makes them think about, you know, not being closer to white or closer to white or closer to normal in their head is viewed as negative. So growing up, you know, people made fun of us and, you know, made fun of our names, made fun of our, you know, our lips, like, you know, like just ignorant stuff just because they didn't want to be associated with Africa. Now it's cool to be associated with, you know, where you're from and finding out like your lineage and your roots. But back in the day, like Black people, I mean, if you tell a Black person, you know, you're African, whether you know it or not, you're African, they'll like beat you up, cuss you out, you know, but now it's like cool. But back then it was like torture to have, you know, a name that like, you know, like most Nigerian families and most Africans, they give their kids like by a biblical name or an American name. So it's easier for them to get through life. But my dad didn't play that. We all have Nigerian names, our first, middle, and last name, all Nigerian. So we couldn't even, you know, we can't say your name's like Sarah or, you know, Cindy. This is my name. So we were constantly having to battle with people about our names. Like my brother, his name is Zulu. He wanted to change his name to Josh growing up.
yeah.
Because he just didn't want to deal with people keep asking him, like, you know, why is that your name? People actually ask that. Am I supposed to call you Zulu? Am I supposed to call you like, you know, all of us? So everybody went through that whole thing where we were trying to like figure out how we're going to get through this as young people. Like, you know, our names, how we look, how, you know, how our parents didn't really show us how to be, I guess, how to assimilate. They didn't do anything. They just kind of were like, okay, here you are, we're here. Because like we all lived in Nigeria growing up, and then we came back to America. My parents didn't do anything to introduce us into the American culture. They just threw us in, and we would come home and say, hey, this happened at school, and they wouldn't care. They just didn't get it. They didn't understand how, like, you know, that it was like torture to go to school and, you know, not fit in. It was like literal torture.
So where do you think the self-hatred comes from that you say that you think Black Americans have? Because being Dominican, I know what you're talking about. There's a lot of that going on as well, like where they deny their Blackness and all that.
I think it comes from slavery. I mean, that's what I think. I don't think there's no deep meaning. There's a deep root. I think it's the slavery. I think from slavery to now, Black people have always been told that they're not good enough. And then the lighter they are and the closer to white that they are, then they have a better chance of having a better life and being accepted. So I think that in itself, in the Black culture and the Black community, you know, creates a lot of problems, because even inside of the Black community, like Black people treat lighter versions of themselves better than they treat darker versions of themselves. And that's just
like
what I was saying.
I just found out about the paper bag test and all that. Like for some like
What? You just found out about that?
yeah, IJ, I'm telling you, like growing up Dominican, I was told for a long time that I wasn't black. I was from the Taino Indians. So until I got my 23andMe done, I was like, yeah, I'm European and Taino Indian. And then I got my 23andMe, and I'm like, I'm 70% from West Africa. I was like, I'm African. Like, fucking. So
what part? What part?
A lot of it was from Cameroon or the Congo.
Wow.
Benin and Togo.
That's a big deal that you're 70% West African and you didn't know till recently. That's a big deal.
It is, because it's like it's on the white side. It's like guys. I know guys that are like, oh, I'm from being from New York. They'd be like, I'm Italian. They get 23andMe done. They find out they're German Irish actually for most of it, and they're only like 10% Italian. So it's like,
wow.
It's kind of like that. And I was just going off of what my family was telling me. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So yeah, fucking, yeah.
But why didn't your family know that?
We never I don't know. And my dad's black as shit. My grandfather is black, like skin color is black. So I have no idea. It's not something that we really like harped on. Like I never got the conversation of like, hey, when a police officer stops you, you're going to be treated differently, anything like that. It was just something that I was very naive to it up until recently. I got asked a question about about black Americans, and I knew there was an answer to top his viewpoint, but I didn't know how to eloquently express it. And this was like a year and a half ago. So it kind of sent me on this thing of like, I need to be, because I hang out with a lot of white people. I was like, I got to be able to to say the facts, like the truth about what's going on. And that's what kind of sent me on this journey. And then meeting you, and then the talk we had outside the comedy club just opened my eyes even more. So I've just been more intrigued in it, and just mainly just trying to find out the truth. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. But when you're saying that you're trying to find out the truth, like what about the truth? I mean, have you noticed that? Do you have any dark skinned friends? And do you notice, do they ever talk about their experience versus your experience?
No, not really. I mean, they say, I'm acting light skinned or whatever, shit like that. But
so you've heard it before. Okay.
Yeah. So from an experience standpoint, it hasn't been said a lot, but I would assume that it is easier for a lighter skinned person, especially when I heard about I found out about the paper bag thing like a month ago.
I can't.
I'm telling you, it's fucking it's wild.
But when your dark skinned friends say that you're acting light skinned, what are you doing, and what are they referring to?
I don't even know. It's weird. I'm different though, because I can I'm a tough dude. Like I can fight. I was a cage fighter, shit like that. So I didn't really get it a ton. I'm not really a soft person, which I know that's what the whole light skin thing is about. And I was never really the smooth dude. I wasn't the licking the lips, squinty eyed light skin dude. You know what I'm saying? I've always been a goofy ass motherfucker. So I kind of operated outside of any of that or to my knowledge, what I think outside of that stuff. Because I just really didn't give a fuck until I just like to know the truth. I'm not a Republican or Democrat. I'm not, I just like to say what I just like to be as honest as possible and as objective as possible when it comes to things in the world. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
when that white person had asked me the question, I was like, I know that the shit you're saying right now is not right, but I can't eloquently express it. And that's what sent me on this thing. And it's oh man, there's this misinformation about why, there's people that literally that can't admit that black Americans are where they are or they're behind because of slavery. They'll literally be like, no, we all have the same opportunity, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, it takes time to catch up. There's people that don't understand that shit. And it's frustrating as fuck.
I mean, I'm never willing to buy that explanation. If that's I don't believe that there are people that don't understand that you get opportunities when you're lighter. I can't buy into that. I just don't think it's true. I think it's just a way of pretending like it doesn't exist. I don't, because they don't want to deal with it. But I
Because
mean,
it's uncomfortable. Yeah. I
yeah,
agree. I agree with that.
yeah. I think it's uncomfortable, and I think that that's why Black people are where they are, is because they don't address the issues. There's no power in numbers. Like we don't help each other as a whole. And any opportunity that we have to help each other do something that makes sense, I just don't think we do it. I think that even
Why?
like
Why don't we help each other? What's your opinion? I'll
um
say.
I think we don't help each other because we don't value each other. I think that we don't see the power and the strength that we would have if we banded together like white people and the other cultures. I mean, Asians band together, Hispanic people band together, but like just Black people, they just don't think that there's a point. And that's because of the I think it's because of slavery. I think it's because of the self-hatred. That's what I think, and it's bothered me for as long as I can remember. It's bothered me since I was a little kid. Like I've actually always had these thoughts, and I just think that wow, wouldn't it be great if we could actually count on each other? Wouldn't it be great if we could do something and know that we don't need anyone else to support us? We don't have to say things like support Black business. We can just know that okay, if we do something and it makes sense, we'll automatically be okay. But in the Black community, you have to like fight for normal things. Like you have to fight for things that like no one else is fighting for. Like you have to walk into a room, and if you don't get an opportunity, you have to just automatically wonder, is it because I'm Black? And that's what I'm always thinking about. And that's why as a business owner, like no one knows that I own a business, because I'm so scared that it's going to affect my business negatively that I just don't even talk about it. Like I'm actually afraid. So,
Damn.
I mean, yeah.
That's crazy. And when you say that Black people don't help each other, is this just Black Americans, or is this like Blacks as a whole? Like, is this in Africa as well? Like,
I think so. It is in Africa as well. In Africa, Africans, the lighter you are, the better your life is. African men gravitate towards light-skinned Africans and white and women that are not Black. So then that makes African women have an inferiority complex, so much so that, you know, they're the bleaching industry, the lotion and the washes that bleach your skin to make you lighter. They're all, you know, a lot of women are using it. It's like $1 billion business in Africa.
what?
To bleach your skin and make your skin lighter, because that's considered more attractive. No matter how crazy it looks, it's just considered that it's more attractive. And it looks crazy when you start bleaching. It looks like insane.
Oh yeah, I mean, Sammy Sosa is our poster boy for that right now. Like,
Yeah.
fucking,
So
it's crazy. Do you think the scales are tipping the other way with that kind of ideology where you know I feel like I'm seeing more of that, like Black is beautiful, like, you know, and I feel like I'm seeing more of that put out there.
it may be out there, but if you look at the representation in just the world in general, just like without doing too much research, look at who the biggest musicians are, the females. Look at, I mean, Beyonce is super light, Rihanna is super light. I mean, like, you know, there are other women that are, you know, making waves, but just think about who is actually like, you know, who's considered like a phenomenon. Like Beyonce can barely sing, and she's being compared to Michael Jackson, who is one of the greatest performers and musicians in the history of the world. And, you know, and I think that's, you know, has a lot to do with her being light skinned, you know, and
Yeah.
I think it's sad. So, and then look at what Michael Jackson did to himself just to, you know, Michael Jackson's a legend, and the children that he decided to have, no one even knows what's going on with them, but we know they're not his, you know, because he didn't want to be associated with Black, you know, so he has 3 kids or 2 kids that are, I mean, you know, they're not his. So, you know, and that's how powerful the hatred is, the self-hatred is.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I've gone to Chapel Hill before, and I've seen Black people, and I'm like, yo, what up? Like, and you could tell it's like, oh no, I'm not one of those Black people. They give you that energy. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, exactly. And then have you ever seen a white person trying to be less white? Like, you know, but you see that with Black people trying to be less Black. Like,
yeah,
it's just
that's
like,
true.
yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, you're Black. So, I mean, trying to be less Black doesn't make you less Black. You're Black.
Yeah, that's true. I've been someone has said something like, oh, that's not. I've you know, I'll talk like because I'm from the hood. I'm from Yonkers or whatever, and I'll start talking like a little bit hood, and they'll be like, "Well, that's not English." I'm like, "Bro, I just heard you speak country, and that's kind of like the same shit. That's not English either. You know what I'm saying?" But I was liking what you were doing, you know, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, that's right." Or they say I don't like slang, and then I'll be like, "You just use the word dude. Like, get out of here with that. Like, that's slang. Like, that's just white slang. That's acceptable."
Why does why do Black people feel like they have to even do that? The code switching.
Oh, I mean that's isn't that just survival, right? Like,
I don't think so. I think it adds to the problem. I think it adds to the problem. I think that like that's what I'm saying. Like, you have all the other cultures are just happy to be themselves. They're like, the Hispanic people are speaking Spanish to Asians. The Asians they have little Asian communities in every major city. Like, you never heard of a little Nigeria or a little Cameroon or a little anything that's in Africa, but in all the major cities, there's a little everything. There's a community where you can go to and you know that this is where all the Lebanese people are. This is where their businesses are. This is where they have their own banks. Like, one in every...
I think there's a little Ethiopia out west, but the fact that there's only one that I could think of just proves your point. Like,
yeah.
Like,
so, I mean, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, like, it just, to me, it doesn't make any sense. One in every 5 Black people in the U.S. is supposed to be a Nigerian. But, like, does anybody know that? What are we doing with those numbers? Like, it's just odd. And Nigerians are super intelligent.
Intelligent. Like,
yeah. So to not be represented, like, on the world stage is like the oddest thing to me. It's like weird. Like, even Nigerians are guilty of it. Trying to be white, trying to assimilate into a white world is just odd. It's whenever people are not themselves, it's just a huge turnoff for me. I just can't rationalize it because it's so ridiculous that I just can't.
When you say trying to be white, what do you mean by that, and why do you think that's negative? Just to explain, like,
Well, like, growing up, my mother is a nurse and my father was an English professor, a PhD. So since I was born, like, when I was born, my dad, people were calling him doctor. That he has a doctorate, and that's the only thing I've ever known. He didn't get his degree, like, while I was alive. He got it, before I was born. So I was just used to having 2 professional parents that spoke well, and my dad's a professor of English. So all of us speak English like you're supposed to speak English. Like, we speak English like somebody taught it to us. Most people just speak English in the way that they're picking up things from the environment, they're adding things. So growing up, people always said I was trying to be white. And I never understood what that meant till later on. They mean that Black people don't sound like me. Black people sound however they think. Black people sound, I guess, the best way to explain it would be the opposite of how I sound. So even up to now, people accuse me of trying to be white, and people accuse me of speaking like a white person. And I think that's the negative. That's the negative. You're saying that the Black people that you come in contact with speak in such a way where, like, that they're, I guess, uneducated and uninformed, and I guess don't even have enough sense to know that you need to speak well. You need to speak, and then speaking well is associated as a positive thing for white people. But when a Black person speaks well, then that means that you're trying to be another person. It doesn't mean that you're it doesn't mean that you're just a Black person that knows how to speak English. So that's negative. So, I mean, that's it.
I empathize with that shit a ton because I get it all the time as well, from Hispanics, Blacks, white people saying, "Oh, you sound whiter than me," or whatever. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I just speak better. I just mastered your language better than you, buddy. Like,
yeah, but they're saying that as a negative thing. They're saying it like they don't think that that's how you speak. They think that you're acting. They don't think that you're like, why can't you speak well? Why is that even a topic that anyone's bringing up? Like, why is anyone saying that? Why is anyone mentioning that? Like, I had an employee who, when I was firing her, she like snapped and was just acting crazy. And she was like cursing me out. And she was saying, "You fake ass Black girl." And I was like, "What makes me fake?" She said, she was Hispanic. I said, "What makes me fake?" She said, "That's not how Black girls talk. You're talking like a fake ass white girl. Like, you're Black. Talk like a Black girl." And this is a Hispanic person telling me this. Like, what are you talking about? This is how I speak. I actually don't even know what you're saying. but sure, whatever. So that's been on your mind. That's been bothering you that I sound like this. That's just crazy. To me, like out of all the things that you could say, you're calling me a fake ass Black girl. And that just goes to show you what people think about Black people. Like, what is a fake ass Black girl? What is a fake ass white girl? Like, why are you telling me that I don't sound how you think I should sound? And then you can't articulate what even that is.
Yeah. I mean, this is like a big thing with me. This is one of the biggest insecurities I've had growing up. And until this day, it's just like the way I speak. Like it seemed it's like anything. You can't please anybody. But it has been something that's fucked with me because I don't want somebody to think I'm not being myself. But I just happen to grow up in different areas or different socioeconomic things. So I can do both. It just comes and goes whenever. It's just depending on the mood, whatever. It's not like something I'm like, all right, it's time to talk white. It's like, nah, I just fucking, I just go with it. It's whatever. Like, I don't know.
But do you find that when you're in certain situations, you do your impression of what you think you should sound like to be in those situations and to fit in?
No, it changes depending on the subject matter that I'm talking about. So if I'm speaking on some scientific stuff, then I just naturally, because I have to think a little bit more, I start enunciating my words a little bit better, things like that. And if I'm speaking about scientific things, I'm usually in front of doctors. But if I'm back home and I'm talking about scientific things, it comes out to the whatever, quote unquote, white or whatever. I enunciate my words. But if I'm having fun and just like being funny, then I'm speaking what someone would say is, I'm like, look at this motherfucker right here. Like, this motherfucker built then it's like, it's like, you know what I'm saying? It just depends on what I'm talking about, not really who I'm around.
Okay.
Yeah. So it comes from within, but sometimes I could see like people are like, oh, I remember a guy in college was like, there's like two different types of Freddy. There's like the Jay-Z Freddy, and then there's like the intellectual Freddy. I'm like, no, it's the same person. Like,
but do you find that when you're around doctors that you're consciously trying to impress them to prove that you can be in the room?
Yes.
In the way you speak?
Yes, and that's been one of the toughest things with my profession is just opening up and being myself. I've been in medical device sales for 6 years now, and I'm just now. My girlfriend's been helping me. She's like, "You got to start being yourself. You sound like a robot." She's like, "You're trying too hard to impress these guys to show them that you're smart or whatever." And even like emails and shit like that. She's like, "Freddie, just be funny. They want somebody they can hang out with." Like, she's like been coaching me on this shit to just like to open up. And I'm still not fully there, but just in the progress that I have made, it has made my quality of life within like my professional environment a lot better. So yeah, it's something I'm still working on.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. So you don't feel like you're good enough in the situation, and that's what Black people do when they're around white people. They change into a different person, but it doesn't make sense because that's not genuine. And like, to me, when I sense stuff like that, it's a turn off to me. Like, I'm like, why you're here and you're in the room, so you were able to get into the room. So why do you feel like you have to do something different to stay in the room? Yeah,
I agree. That's been a struggle of mine at work, specifically in the operating room. Like, even when even like my clients are Indian and Black and everything, and I'm just like. It's more of like to prove that like, hey, I'm smart enough to be here, not necessarily white enough, but same shit. It's but you're right. It's on the same vein of like, it's not real. You could tell I'm trying just a little bit too hard. Like, especially a few years ago, it was like my diction, my timing. I could tell I'm just talking different, and then I could see them check out as I'm talking to them. Like, when I want to set an appointment. And in my head, I'm like, oh, this is not going. This is uncomfortable for everybody. Like, it's so bad.
But see, that to me is what all the Black people are doing. Like, when a Black person is in a white work environment, they're unrecognizable. Like, you don't even when you compare them to who they are outside of work, it's a different person. But to me, the constant is that it all looks like acting. It doesn't look genuine. I don't even know how they can even keep it up. It looks stressful it's stressful to look at.
Yes.
It's stressful to watch a Black person try to fit into an environment. You already got into the environment. You're already in the room. Why are you still trying to be accepted when you're already there? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. My sister crushes it. She's the easiest way to explain her, and she hates this, but like it's a Cardi B, but she's like, but she's that all the way through, whether she's in white, whether she's in no matter what environment, and everywhere she goes, for the most part, people love her. Like,
okay.
It could be good old boy Southern man. They love her. Amanda, I just think you're great. Like, but because she's her, she's not acting. She don't give a fuck. Most people love her, but then there's, when you be yourself, there's always those pocket of people that don't like you because they can't take it. But she's a good example of not acting at all. Like she really doesn't care. So she, I don't know. She's been helping me with this struggle that I'm going through myself. So.
But you had the same parents, right? You grew up together.
Yeah, grew up together, same parents, same neighborhood, everything. Yeah.
So what's making her confident enough to be herself, and then you're not confident in yourself, in I guess just being just like her when you're in an environment.
I don't know. Too much thinking. I don't know. Yeah. I don't really know. This has been like a point of something that's been on my mind recently more than ever, and I'm starting to get through the other side of it by just really like being myself and being the goofball that I am, and it's working. But but I don't know where the difference came. I don't know if it's because I went to college and she didn't. Like I was in. Well, that's not even that, because she ended up moving to Greensboro shortly after me. I went to UNCG and she moved shortly after me, and she didn't change. She didn't like. I don't know.
But was there a certain time period where you started feeling like, okay, I can't be who I am to be in environments with the people that I think are, I guess, what's the right term? The people that are holding the cards, the people that can change my future and make me successful.
It was when I got to medical device. That was when I started, I'm like, all right, well, if I'm around surgeons, I got to be a little bit more, a little bit more buttoned up, like a little more professional, I guess. I guess it was the whole idea of professionalism was meant like you had to act a certain way, I guess.
But where did you get that from? Yeah, it came from somewhere.
I don't know. I guess just watching other people, they just seem to like. I guess I was trying to act like the people I was around, like in a sense of like there's a way you act in a professional environment.
Okay, well, if all the surgeons are you doing this with all the surgeons, no matter what color they are, or like?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So do you feel like the ones that are not black, the ones that are black, do you feel like they're acting as well? Because I think that's acting when people do stuff like that.
When people, I'm sorry, say it again.
The other surgeons that are not white, are they also acting how you're acting? They're trying to also fit in?
No, I don't know if they're trying to fit in, but they also, I don't know. It doesn't seem, I don't know if it seems like acting. It's just, yeah.
But do you think that the common denominator in all of this is that everyone's trying to be accepted by the white people?
Yeah.
And so do you feel like that's a problem?
I think that's part of it. Yeah. I think in general, any corporate environment, there's a general veneer of fakeness throughout, whether you're white, because I've seen, country people do it. They put on the bland, like no, like the news anchor thing, the news anchor speak, where there's no accent, or you can't really tell where they're from. I would say across the board they do it. And I'm sure it's much harder for us than it is for white people, but like across the board in corporate environment, there's a level of fake. I don't know if it's fakeness, but there's a sound. I can tell when someone's talking on the phone with like a corporate type of person, even from there's like that jargon that, it's just, I'll circle back with you. There's a lot of like the same phrases being used and things like that just, it takes away the individual.
Exactly. And that's very frustrating to me, because I think all that's fake. I think all that's acting.
Yeah. So, but agreed. Just from the corporate standpoint is, whatever. But once I started doing stand-up, that helped me see through all that and go, oh shit, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm not selling, because people, at the end of the day, people want to buy from people. And and you can feel that, man. There's that. It's like when I'm on stage and like a joke, or like I can feel when I'm connecting with the audience, or like when I can tell, like, all right, they didn't like that because that joke wasn't really me. I was just trying to get a laugh. And yeah, it might have been funny for some people, but deep, I got like a weird head laugh as opposed to like the deep belly laugh. The deep belly laughs come from when you're being you and you're on stage and you're just going off. Like that's when the stuff comes out. I think that translates also into real life. Like people connect with people when they're being themselves, like for the most part. Like,
But do you remember what I told you when I first saw your show?
no, what was it? We said a lot after the show.
I said that I thought that you off stage was funnier than you on stage.
Yes. Yeah. That's true from another standpoint too, because a famous stand-up comedian says, like, before you do stand-up comedy, you're the guy at the bar making everybody laugh, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Then you do stand-up comedy, and now you have to practice to be yourself on stage so that for like the next 10 years so that you can be that person. So I am definitely funnier off stage right now than I am on stage. And that's why getting the reps in is important for me to be that person. I can't wait, because right now I'm doing well, it's especially for 3 years in, but I'm so excited for 10 years in when I could when I'm just really, really comfortable. And even since the last time you saw me, I've gotten even more comfortable. Like my act has changed, and just that feeling has become addicting in itself. And then also being a stand-up makes you even more observant. So now I'm able to see through all the bullshit, and then just being fake or trying to adapt to this corporate shit is like, it's like hurting me inside. So now I'm being myself more. And lo and behold, now I'm getting more now I'm getting more surgeons. Now surgeons want to talk to me more. It's not uncomfortable. I'm selling more shit. It's like I'm connecting with nurses more. So it's this cascade of things that's happening from not acting.
Okay. Well, that's good. Because I think that's one of the things that that makes it difficult for Black people to be successful in America, is because Black people, part of that acting also turns into not helping other Black people, because you don't want to be responsible for another Black person that you brought in not being able to be an actor. I found that white people, like if a white person has a job at just any random company and a friend of theirs needs a job, they'll go out of their way to get their friend into that environment, into that position, into that company, and their friend won't have any experience. A Black person will know that their friend can do the job, but they don't want to be the person that brings another Black person into a company. Like they don't help each other. They don't do the things that white people do so that they can get ahead. They, for some reason, I don't know if it's a power thing, where they feel like, okay, if I keep this Black person below me, I can be above them, and therefore I'm better than them, and I'm closer to the white idea of success. I just don't think that Black people reach back as much as they should. And I think it all has to do with self-hatred.
I think there's a number of factors. The self-hatred part, that part that you said that they don't want to, maybe it could be a power thing. Maybe it could be like, oh shit, now like now they, like you said, they have to be responsible for, what if this person acts too Black? Especially if this Black person is acting to get in or whatever. Now it's like, oh, now what if this person becomes too Black while they're around me? It becomes like, now you have to manage like being white and Black at the same time, especially if you're trying to hide it. So it could be a number of those factors that white people don't even have to think about doing. So it's much easier to be like, fuck yeah, I'll get you the job, buddy. Like, like, damn, it's crazy.
And they do it.
What are the distinctive like cultural factors between a Nigerian and a Black American, you think?
I think the work ethic and the belief in self. Like Africans, when it comes to being Africans, are the most confident people on earth when it comes to being an African. But when it comes to the actual Black part, then they start to lose steam. But when it comes to their intelligence and what they can do, like, it's nothing to be in a room with a whole bunch of Nigerians and then you find out that they're all doctors. Like, because that's just what Africans do. They go for the gold. Like they're not trying to be like just a normal person. They're trying to be the best. They're trying to have, if they're a doctor, they're a multi-specialist. They have like two specialties. Like they're not trying to, just be mediocre. Black Americans, I think, are okay with mediocrity. They're just okay with it. They're not striving for more. They're just they're running towards the middle. That's what I've seen, like across all the Black people that live in all the different places that are I found that Africans are just super confident in their ability to succeed.
Okay. And slavery is the factor there, right? Do you think that the lack of confidence comes from that? I mean, that's all what it stems from, right? Like,
I think so.
Yeah, the self-hatred. That's fucking wild, man.
I think so. I mean, because growing up, like my dad, he just didn't. We couldn't say, "Dad, we don't know how to do this." He would just say stuff like, "What do you mean?" Like he would always say, "Well, the people that did it, do they have an extra brain?" He would actually say that, and we as kids, we were like, "No, Dad, they don't." What kind of question is that? So my dad's basically saying like nothing about them makes them more intelligent than you. So if they can do it, you can do it. Like it was never a question of if you're going to do it, it's when you're going to do it, because you can. African Americans, that's just not what I see. There's just no confidence of course there are very successful African Americans, but in general, they're not successful like Africans. Like they're just not. That's just not, it's not part of their culture. Like growing up, like, now in 2020, there's still Black Americans who are saying things like, I'm the first one in my family to go to college. Like, that's just not a thing in African families and African communities. Like, you're going to college. You're going to go. Even if you don't use your degree, you're going to go. Like, we didn't even think that was an option. Like, when I got out of high school and I saw the list of people that were not going to college, I was just like, even though I think college is a scam, I was just like, wow, so we were just going to finish high school and just keep working at Walmart. Like, that's it. Not that you're going to be an entrepreneur or you're going to you have some kind of something that's going to make it make sense for you to like not go to college. You don't have another plan. So, but it just didn't even occur to them. Growing up, we just didn't have a choice. It was, daycare, elementary school, middle school, high school, college, rich.
Yeah, that it's true. Because where I grew up, I mean, I'm one of the first in my family to go to college, and where I grew up around me, I graduated in 2004. Dudes are like, I'm gonna just keep my job going at Best Buy where I'm making $14 an hour, living in Yonkers, New York. Like, and that was good. That's good. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, and my mother got a GED. So for me, my mom her goal for me is she wanted me to finish high school. Me going to college was on my own thing. I was hanging around. I remember I wasn't even planning to go to college. I wanted to be a firefighter in my town, and they make, I was like, oh, they make $60,000 a year. It's really good. You get pension. It's a stable job. And then somebody told me about college, and then my buddy Ricky, Black dude, he's a lawyer. And my best friend Seneca's friend, dark skinned dude as well. He's a lawyer, went to college. He was explaining to me how college was, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, I want to go to college now. That just sounds like fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I mean, I think your observation is correct, generally speaking, on I guess the level of expectations. What do you say to people that are like, well, you can't use slavery as an excuse. That happened long ago, or slavery is not an excuse. What do you say to that?
I would say that for something to affect you, you don't have to know even the history of it. But the things that are passed down from generation to generation are real. Like, I mean, if you look at Black people where they are, like I watched the Madam C.J. Walker story, and I was just shocked at the similarities to right now. I mean, this is a woman that became a millionaire in the early 1900s, and she had the same obstacles. She was too dark. Her husband was trying to convince her to lighten the color of the women on the packaging. That's the exact thing that's going on right now. Everything that Black people have they want it represented by a light-skinned Black person. That's from slavery. Like, even though you're light-skinned, because even though in slavery, when somebody was light-skinned, you knew that somebody was raped. But Black people made that into a positive thing. Even though you're a product of rape, you're still better than the Black people that are full Black, or that don't have, the white masters' blood in them. Black people put that on a pedestal. And so I think that now that's still prevalent. Whenever Black people get a lot of joy from light-skinned people, because that's closer to white. So whether they know it's happening or not, it's happening. Because that's just what it is. I don't think it's like something that is up for debate. I just think that's just what it is.
Agreed. I say the same thing. I'm like, whether you believe it or not, it's something that it just is. There's no arguing. Yeah.
Yeah. But people love to argue about it and say, no, that's not it. And that's it. I don't think it's deep. I think what I think is more fascinating than that it's happening is that Black people actually don't even accept and acknowledge that it's happening. They just pretend that this light-skinned person is ahead because they're doing something. No, they're just being light-skinned.
There's less.
That's it.
Yeah, there's less barriers they got to go through just from a human level, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So I'm always fascinated by light-skinned people who don't even use that to their advantage. It's like, you don't have to do anything. All you have to be is show up and be light-skinned, and you're automatically get a chance. So I
had this weird theory where it's like, yes, if you're Black and you do something wrong, it's like double the penalty essentially. But also, if you do something good, it's double the positive. What do you think of that?
No, that's not true.
No,
I don't. I think that when you're dark skinned and you do anything, it's not celebrated how it would be celebrated when you're light skinned and when you're white and when you're not a dark skinned Black person. I mean,
damn.
That's just what I think. I think that's just the sad truth, and it's annoying, and it's uncomfortable, and it's every negative thing that you can think of. And sometimes it makes you not even want to do anything, because you know that people don't care unless you're light skinned or not a dark skinned Black person.
It's like stacked. It's like you feel like it's stacked against you so much.
Yeah. I mean, look at Will Smith. Will Smith can barely act, but for some reason he gets casted every single role. Like, and every biopic, he's the pick. Why? How? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, he's celebrated and he can barely act. And it's because he's light skinned.
That's true. I mean, yeah. How about what do you think of Chadwick Boseman?
I think that every decade or so, white people pick a Black person that and they just keep putting them in stuff up until they get tired of it, just so that they can fill that quota. Like, okay,
yeah, because he's played like a bunch of prominent Black figure roles and all that recently. And then there's also, and I guess this is the time when now they're allowing two, because Mahershala is the other dark skinned guy that they're giving a lot of roles to. It's like,
yeah, and it doesn't make any sense. Like Will Smith played the Nigerian doctor that
what?
I don't know if he was the first one. I don't know if the Nigerian doctor was the first one to figure out the brain disease that happens with athletes. But Will Smith played, can't remember the name of the movie, but Will Smith was the Nigerian doctor in that movie. But Will Smith can act, and there are actually Nigerian actors who could have played that role like in a way that it made sense. And, but if I watch a movie and the acting is terrible, I don't care what it's about. I just can't watch it. So they lost an opportunity to bring awareness to this thing that's happening in the brains of athletes, because Will Smith just sucks.
Yeah, and I want to clarify for anybody listening to this, you liking Will Smith does not mean he's a good actor, because I think they'll get offended listening to this, like, he's great. It's like, no, you just really like him. That doesn't mean he's a great actor. Those are two different things. So calm down.
Yeah. I mean, even the Fresh Prince, the original Aunt Viv said that Will Smith has an issue with dark-skinned people, and he fired her and just hired another aunt. And like, who does that? you replace her with somebody that, I mean, the original Aunt Viv was like super dark skin, which is fine. But
I
then
remember
the new
that.
Aunt Viv is like super light skin, which doesn't make any sense. So now how do you explain that Carlton and Ashley are dark skinned when both parents are, you know, light skinned? It just didn't make any sense. But Will Smith thought that that was fine. And that just goes to show you, that's just a small example of how crazy Black people are. Like Aunt Viv didn't die. He just said, I don't like that she's this dark. Let's give the role to a lighter skinned Aunt Viv. I mean,
Oh, wait.
just.
I'm sorry. So wait. So you know why the change was made?
She said because Will Smith has a problem with dark skinned people.
Fuck, I didn't know that.
How do you not know that? That's like, everyone knows that.
I didn't look into why they changed it. I was like, what the fuck?
She talks about it all the time. They're like videos that she's made where she talks about it. She said that Will Smith has colorism issues, that he does not like dark skinned Black people.
Damn. Yeah, I didn't look into that one, but I don't. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, I mean,
holy shit. So how do you navigate? You're a successful entrepreneur. How have you navigated all this? Like, what's your mindset with it?
My mindset is to just stay in the shadows.
Damn.
Yeah, and like people tell me all the time, no, you need to like, you know, encourage other little Black girls, and it's like I'm so tired of like fighting and screaming and just trying to like just stay afloat and just to keep my brain in, just to keep myself in a healthy brain space. Like, so I just figure I don't care about being one of those entrepreneurs that's out front. I'd rather have a successful business than everyone know that I own the business. I can't deal with the negative things that happen when Black people know that a business is Black owned. I literally can't deal with it. Like in my body, in my spirit, in my soul, I can't deal with it. It takes too much. I mean, you know, I just can't. People think that my company is owned by a white person, and I'm fine with that because I know that as soon as Black people find out, it's like literally like, it's like script. As soon as a Black person finds out that the business is Black owned, they immediately start trying to tear the business down. I mean, I've seen it. Like, so and that's just what it is.
Damn.
And I don't know why. I don't know why it's like, I mean, I know why slavery, but that's just, I don't want to deal with that. I'm more, my mindset is more, I'd rather be successful than be one of those people who acts like I'm doing something just because I own a business. I don't care if anybody knows that I own a business. I just want the business to do well. So yeah. I'm tired of fighting with Black people. I'm tired of fighting with white people. I'm tired of seeing the way that white people treat me when, I mean, in real time, I've seen white people go from thinking that I'm an employee of the business to finding out that I'm the owner. They immediately start treating me like a different person. So the white people and the Black people do it. So I'm just sick of all the things. I'm sick of trying to figure out what it is this time. So I just rather stay in the shadows.
Damn. Do you think it's going to get better? What do you see? Do you have, what are your thoughts moving forward with all this?
It hasn't gotten better. So, I mean, I don't think it's going to get better. I mean, I started my business in 2015. It's now 2020. Nothing's changed. It's the same. Like, I mean, I get major anxiety from being publicly tied to my business. Like actual anxiety, like a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach and like panic.
Damn. I wanted to talk about all the marriage scam. Can we do another podcast next week on that? Because I love
sure.
Yo, I love your perspective on so many things. Like, and I'll explain in the intro why I wanted you on the show and all that. But I would love to do another one where we talk about the scam stuff like marriage, college, shit like that. Because I think that'll be fun. But I think if you're okay, we could stop here and continue next week if that's cool. Because I think we did close to an hour here.
Yeah, that's fine. We can
IJ, thank you so much for sharing this shit. I think this is super informative and educational for a lot of people listening. I have a very diverse audience, and I think people could take a lot from this. Like, if they're honest with themselves, they'll be able to take a lot from this.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're awesome, girl. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.